Hello, so this is the first video of the Django Form video series, and in this series we are going to create forms in Django's. This is the first video of that series, and in this video I will show you how to create a form and display that on your web page. And we are not just going to create some ordinary forms, we are also going to style that using Bootstrap. Now you do not have to be an expert in Bootstrap, because all the code that I'm going to use here will be taken directly from the examples that is given on the Bootstrap website. So without wasting any more time, let's start. So first, to create a form, we have to create a file called forms.py. Now it's not necessary that you always create it's not necessary that you always create a file called forms. You can have your own file name, but it's a good idea to have forms.py as the file name, because for models we choose models.py, for test we choose test.py, then why not choose forms.py for all our forms. So I just create a new file, forms.py. You can name it anything you like. My recommendation would be to use forms.py. Now every form that I create will be a class, just like every model in our so we do not have a model here, any model here, but you probably know that every model in Django is a class. Similarly, every form in Django is also a class. So first we have to from Django we have to import forms. Now we have to create a class, and let me call it registration form. Registration form, and we have to extend from forms.form. And now I have to give the name of the fields that I want to display in these forms. So I can display like username and password, email, first name, last name, and maybe gender. Now just like in models, we also have to tell what these fields are. So whether they are text field, whether they are some drop down field or some radio button, or we have to explain, we have to describe the fields. So the username is going to be a text field, and for text field we use car field. Okay, so it's forms.car field. Password will also be a text field, so it's also be a car field. Email will also be a text field, and that is why for text field we use car field. First name also car field. Last name is also a character field, and gender I want the drop down functionality, where you can drop down and select one option among many options, and that is why it says choice field. It's called a choice field. Now choice field, we need to give choices, a list of choices to choice field. That's mandatory. So you have to give a list here, and the list will have tuples. So like I have male, one choice is male, another is female. If you want, you can give another choice, other. So in this tuple there will be two values. In each tuple you can see there are two values. One value will be used by our programs, and the other will be displayed on the web page. Okay, so I have created my forms. Now I have to display this form on a web page. So first we need to create a web page, and you know how to do that. We create a method in this view.py file. So let's do this. I call it index, and I also need to link this page in my urls.py file. So here, how do we do that? It's simple. We have say path, and this is the index, and that is why I put nothing in here, just empty quotes, and then views dot index. And now I want to render a template from here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new folder here, and that folder will be called templates. Now you have to call it templates. There you do not have a choice. You have to say it's templates. And now inside you can create forms. I call it registration dot html. Now here you have a choice. You can name it anything you want. So I call it registration.html, and the title will be registration form. And let me define an state. This is working. This is just for testing purposes. So I define an h1 tag. This is working. Now I'm going to render this file from my view. And so I say render. So the first is requests, and the second is basically registration HTML. And now let's run our server and test it. And we get an error. I knew that we can get an error. Why? Let's go. Because we also have to return this. Now let's try, and this is working. So we got our web page set up, but still a form is not displayed here. So let's display our form. So to display a form, first we have to get this form in our method. So as a form is equal to and the first thing I actually have to do is I have to import this. So forms, I say registration form. I imported a registration form, and now I have to initialize that by registration form. And now I'm gonna send this registration form to a template. And here in a template, let's display that form. Now let's see. So you can see our first form doesn't look quite good. Let's see the source code. So go to this tools and developers tool. Actually we have to say page source. We have to say page source. For page source, Control U is a shortcut. So you can see here, we can see table rows. This is the form, but two things are missing. One is the form tag is missing, and then since it's table rows, we also need tables, and also there's no submit button. Okay, there are three things missing from here. So let's do this. First we need form. The method we choose is post, and inside the form we need table. And inside the table we have to put this form. Now let's see. And now it looks a little better. Now at least it looks presentable. If we refresh the source code, now we can see we have the form, then we have table. Inside that table we have table rows, and then table ended, form ended. So this is how we show a form on Django. Django also gives us few more options, like this is, but the default this is in a table style, but you have two more options. So let's remove this. The first option is form.s paragraph. Now this is as paragraph. If I see the source code, you can see all the fields and the labels are in the form of paragraphs, and that is why it is SP, P for paragraph. The other way is to SUL. Okay, SUL, which means unordered list, but again here we have to first add UL. We have to add a UL tag around our form, and then it will be displayed in this way. Let's see the source code. I have the UL tag, inside UL tag it populates this list elements. Now you can use CSS to customize the behavior and give it a more presentable look, but in this video we are going to use Bootstrap. So let's see Bootstrap forms. So here is the form, and I copy that directly. Maybe I can do this, copy, and this is the form tag. So I'm going to replace completely here. But in the Bootstrap, if you know a little bit of Bootstrap, that then you have to create a division called container first, and then inside it you can put Bootstrap code. Also you need to put a CSS file from the Bootstrap. So you have to copy this, so now we are going to test Bootstrap. And this autofills because of the browser that remembers my username and password. Do not worry about it. Maybe I can give it a little padding. Now it looks slightly better. I have a padding of 2%, and it works when my browser is small as well. Now we want to show our form that we created in this format. So let's do this. So first I will comment out this Bootstrap code and put my own code here. The form that we created here consists of many fields. You can see the fields for username, password, email, first name, last name, gender, and we can loop through it. It's possible to loop through them. So I'm going to loop through them So in template, if you know about Django template, then we loop through them in by using these tags, for tag. Now to get each form, I can display each form field using form, and actually I can get in every loop I get the field, so I can display this field here. Now let me refresh the page and see what we get. So I get 5 fields, 1 2 3 4 5, and here in the form also I have 5 fields, 1 2 3 4 5, 1 2 3 4 5, and this one is 6th, so we have 6. Now we will customize this exactly like the Bootstrap. So in the Bootstrap, first we have a division with a class of form group. So that's what we do. For every field we will have a division with a class of form group. So I created that. Then I have a label. And to show the label of field is quite easy. To do that, we say field dot label tag. Now that label tag will print this label. That's total automatic. And next is this input. So next is that input, and that input can be by field. And then finally we have this one. Now we are not going to do ID right now because it's a loop, and if we leave this ID, then there will be multiple IDs, and we know that we cannot have multiple IDs. So I will leave this out, and this is we can get this text automatically by using field dot help text. So now let's see what we get. So we get slightly better, but it's still not satisfactory. Let's see the source code. And in the source code we see that the problem is here. I have the type, name, ID, but what is missing is the class, this class, form control class. So how do I add this class to my field? And for that we have to create a filter. So how do we create a filter? For that we have to create a new folder, and we have to call it template tags. Now you do not have a choice again. The name of your folder has to be template tags. You do not have a choice. And then you have to create a new Python file and call it __init__.py. Now I'm sorry, you have to create the inside template tags, not here, so I move this one. Okay, and now you can create another file. This time you can name it anything you like. I call it formhelper.py. formhelper.py. Now here I say from Django import template, and then I say register is equal to template.library. You have to do that. You have to repeat exactly the same step no matter what you do, but you have to do this step. Then I create a first filter and I call it add class. So I say add class. It takes two parameters. One is field, another is classes. And also add a decorator that says register dot filter. I can give it a name here, so name is add class. Now the first thing I have to check is that this field is an instance of bound field. For that I have to import forms here and then check if the type of this field is equal to forms dot bound field. If it is, then we will proceed. Otherwise I'll return simple string. I cannot raise an exception here. Remember, we cannot raise an exceptions. We have to return an empty string. Okay. So now what I do, I take classes is equal to field, this field, and I call it CSS classes, and I put the classes that I got. So this is the classes that we have to add, and by putting it in the field.css classes, we will add these CSS classes to the existing list of CSS classes. Okay, so if there is some existing classes, it will add to it. Now we got the list of these classes. Now we have to add these classes to field. So that's a field, then widget. So every field has a field. Okay, every bound field has a field, and then there is a widget, and then there are ATTRs, which means attributes. And now update the attributes, and here we put in we give a dictionary and say class is this classes. And now it's time to return the field. So what, there is some error. You can see there is some error. And let's see what is the error. Yes, here we have to colon, we need a colon there. Okay, now I have this field, and we have to add classes to this field. So first we need to load this form helper. And now to use that to use this filter that I created, I can use a pipe symbol and say add class, and then use to give the our our classes, this one. This field will be this field, and the classes I need to provide it here after a colon, and that is what is it is form control. Now this will add classes to our field. So now let's refresh. Oh, I cannot refresh. I need to shut down our server and then restart it because we created a new folder. And now let's refresh, and there is a problem. Add class require 2 arguments and only one is provided. Maybe I think we cannot give space here between colon and the argument. And let's see, and here it is, our form. We're still missing a few things, like there is the first thing is that this password is not password, right? There's no bullet, so I can see the password. That's not a great idea. And let's see the source code to see this better. So here the input type for the password should be password. The input types for the email should be in email. Okay, first name, last name, text, fine, and this is also fine. So I need to fix this password and email. To do that, go to the form, and here we have to select the widget. For password is a password input, and for email we say email input. So now if we see the source code, now the input type for password is password and input type for email is email, and rest is fine. In a Bootstrap example, there was a placeholder. And what about this help text, right? So there was a placeholder and the help text. So to add the placeholder, I can do that using the forms. So let's see. For that, I have to define widget for all of them. So for the character field, the default default widget is text input. So let's define that, and here I can define the attributes for the widget, and one of the attributes is placeholder. Similarly, for the widget for password also I can define attributes. So I've added placeholder for all of them except for the gender, and here we do not need a placeholder. So I refresh the page, and you can see we have a placeholder now for all of our fields. Now what about this help text? So I can also add the help text from the form itself. Like suppose I want to add help text for email, so I can give it here. So I have given a help text for the email field, and let's refresh the page, and you can see here a help text is you can see the help text below the email field. And what if I want to change this labels? What I can do, it's easy. First I have to change this. I have to remove this colon from the label, and that colon can be removed easily using label suffix. I can give label suffix as an empty string that will remove that colon. And now the colon will be removed. I can also change the label if I want to. I will change for username. You can give it a label, your username. So now this username will be changed. It says your username. The spelling is wrong. I will change it back again because I have no intention to change the default label. The default label is constructed by capitalizing the first letter of our field name, and if there is underscore, like here in the case of first name, it will replace this underscore with a space. So that is how the default labels are automatically created. Now what difference we have? The difference is here we have ID and we have this one, area described by, and then this ID is used here. So we need to do that. So let's again use the filter. So for that purpose I can give it ID here, ID, and that ID can be like I have the field or name will give me the name here, name that I will show you. Every field has a name, that name will be used here, name, and help, because here also we say email help, which means email is the field name and help extra text. So that is what I'm doing here, the field, the name, and help. And now what I need is I need to add this one, area described by email help. This is what I need to add. So I again create a new filter. I call it add description. I take field and description. If I do not give a name here, the name of my method will be considered as the default name for my filters. Okay, so if I do not give a name, this will be used as a default name. So let's check again if this field is of type bound field. So if type of this field is equal to forms.bound field, then field.widget dot attrs dot update. Now what attribute I need to give? This one, area described by. And the value of this should be field or name plus the description. And in order to make sure that this description is also always a string, I put that in the string function. Here also I can do that. Here also. And now I can return the field, and if the type is not field, then I can return an empty string. Or I can return the field, or maybe empty string is a good idea. Now I have to apply the second filter here, which is add description, and give it the description of help, because here I'm using help, that is why I'm giving help. And now if I refresh the page, and you cannot see it anything, but if you refresh the page, now in every field you can see here I have a unique ID here, which is constructed by using the name and help, and the same is in this area described by. So I have constructed exactly the same kind of input that I had in my Bootstrap. So I have constructed a beautiful form. You can change the order of these fields using field order. You just have to give it a list. Suppose first I want to show email, and then username, and then password, and then gender, and the first name and last name. If I want to show the fields in this this style, then it will be done automatically. Here it is. So I have email, then username, password, gender, first name, last name. Also you can give an error class. So you can give error CSS class and say is invalid. You can give it any class name. This class name will automatically be applied to the fields if there is any error. And similarly for all required field also I can apply a CSS class. So required CSS class, and this is required. So if you want to use it, you can use it in your CSS. Is invalid is this class name is used by the Bootstrap. That is why I have used is invalid. So now again it takes a little bit of time to refresh. Yes. So all required, you can see here, all required fields have got this required class. If you want any field to be not required, suppose you do not want last name to be required, so what I can do, I say required is equal to false. And then you can see in the source code the last name. Where is that? Here is the last name. It is not required, and that is why in the class there is no required class. So I think I covered almost everything that I wanted to show you in this video, and in the next video we'll see how to deal with errors and how to what we need to do when somebody submits the form. Oh, there is actually no submit button. Without the submit button, form is incomplete, so we need a submit button as well. So this is how we do submit button. This is submit button. Actually let's do this one. Change this to a variable called submit, and if this is not provided, then by default let's use submit. So by default, if the submit variable is not present, it will use submit, but if I give the submit variable from the view, then it will use that one. You can see now it's a register because I have given the submit variable from here, from a view. And why not do this for title as well? By default it will be default title. So if I do not give anything, it will be default title, and if I give the title from the view, it will be registration form, that the title that I gave from the view. Now before I finish this video, I want to show that how we can use this form or how we can use this template to easily create new forms. So I have created a registration form. Let's create a login form. So I have quickly created a login form with just two fields, username and password. And now I have to create a new login page. First I have to import the login form. I'm using the same template registration.html that I created, and now I give and now I'm going to add this login to my URLs. And now it is time to check the login. And here's the login form. See how quickly I created the login form. I have the title, I have the button, and I have the login form already all completed, and I have not done anything to create a login form. I have used the same old registration.html form. It's very modular. I have created a form that I can use with any number of fields and with any kind of forms. So this is the first video of the Django forms, and there will be many more amazing stuffs in the next video. So thanks for watching, and see you next time.